Should I just hit the intro?
Hit it.
Hit it.
Would you please welcome to the Putting You Over podcast? He currently ranks number 231 on the PWI 500 and number 31 on the BW 500. He is the current Warriors of Wrestling King of New York and your BCW Wrestling World Champion, Wrestling's Richest Prize, Mr. Darius Carter!
That is one hell of an intro. Phenomenal. I hear him. I hear him working. He's working hard. Wrestling's Richest Prize will pop in and join us as soon as. I mean, I'm sure he's a busy man, Vanessa. You heard those accolades.
I did.
So when he has the time, we have the time, as they say in the business. And speaking of Wrestling's Richest Prize, he is here with us right now. Hopefully he can hear us.
I can hear you if you can hear me.
Oh, I can hear you. The smooth sounds of Darius Carter. How are you doing tonight, sir?
Doing wonderful, doing divine. Thank you for asking. I heard that exquisite introduction. Very well done. So thank you for the warm, kind, and generous introduction.
Yeah, that was done by our hype man, Ryan Romano on Twitter. He wants to get into announcing, and he's a friend of the show. And I don't know how we got on the topic one day, but I was like, dude, if you want to just record yourself doing intros for our guests, I'll tell you who we're having on all the time. And that's how things started. And, you know, it's putting people over. No pun intended. You know, let's give the guy a voice.
That was well done. He was accentuating the syllables. He was, you could hear the crescendo in the voice. Well done. Well done. He might have a future after all.
He might. And he happened to mention your 231 ranking in PWI. We'll get to that. But he did mention BWI, I want to say. And
well,
go ahead.
I mean, it could be BWO, it could be BCW,
yeah.
It could be PWI. You know, a lot of combinations of three letters are talking about Darius Carter.
A lot of monikers.
Take your pick.
Yeah, a lot of it's not monikers. A lot of acronyms. That's the word.
Yes.
Acronyms.
Yes.
But yes, as I said, welcome to the show tonight. Busy Tuesday night for me here, being a sports guy. I don't know about yourself, but my Red Sox are on at the moment. So if I happen to break off and cheer, I apologize in advance.
It's natural, man. It is what it is.
It is what it is. You a sports guy? You follow sports?
Not particularly. No, I've wagered some money in sports.
Yeah.
But I'm not. Yeah, I'm more of a stats than players type person. So I've kind of had some fun there. But
yeah,
no, I mean, man, wrestling is enough. When you watch wrestling as much as I do and support it, and it's kind of in your blood and in your veins, you don't have time for anything else really. Like, you know, other than your other job or whatever's going on in your life, wrestling fills up those patches. So it's a little hard to really keep up with all that stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Everything.
It's impossible. We talk about it a lot on here. There's a ton of wrestling. It's on at least every night of the week in some shape or form. And between that, your shoot job, as you said, I have kids, Vanessa has kids. It's almost impossible to keep up with everything. So we get it. I understand.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to juggle. With business marketing, and then you have wrestling, and I mean, it's just kind of like, and then you feel like you haven't watched enough wrestling, which is the biggest curse of it all. Is you're watching wrestling and you're studying tape and you're rewatching matches and rewinding, and then you're always wanting to watch more. So I feel like a part of me would feel a little bit guilty if I was watching something else. Like, how am I watching this when I need to be studying tape or studying a match or rewatching something I did to kind of watch my own footwork to improve? If you can't be in the ring, if you can't be training your body, then you're training your mind. So that's my mentality.
I feel like if I was a wrestler, I would have that same mindset. If I was a wrestler, I probably wouldn't. Well, maybe the Red Sox I'd watch, but I wouldn't watch football. I'd probably go back and watch like my first match or something, a match I didn't do well at. I'd probably do a lot of tape. How do you balance? Okay, let me phrase this correctly. You're watching wrestling, so how much of it do you watch as like I'm watching tape to get better, and how much do you watch as a fan?
I'll watch the stuff live as a fan. So maybe like the Monday Night Raws and the NXT 2.0, which I'll catch up on. Which was airing tonight now actually, but and then SmackDown, and then I'll catch some of AEW because I was watching all of the I was watching the Darks. I was a big Dark because I have a lot of people that I know that I'm familiar with or close with or what have you that will appear on Dark. So I'll watch the match. I'll watch the matches that they're in. So I was watching that more than I was watching Dynamite, and Rampage comes on right after SmackDown, so it kind of has that block. But other than that, it's all it's tape study. Even if I'm rewatching a match of mine, it's tape study. I'm not rewatching it to be like, I had a great match, or I did well. I'm looking at it and saying how I could have done better, how I could have stepped better, how I could have moved better, how I could have taken advantage of this thing better or that thing. It's a constant tug of war with myself mentally, and it's always in a positive place. I'm never, beating myself up per se, but I'm definitely a perfectionist, and I think when you're aiming for perfection, you can, you're looking for that 10 out of 10, that 100 out of 100 every time, which you can say is almost impossible, but that keeps you hungry. That keeps you hungry. That keeps your hunger in check. So you can never be satiated. You know what I mean? You can never be fully
content,
complete, or happy with where you are. No, absolutely not. You have to be continuing to strive for something else. So that's always my mentality: is how do I get better from where I'm at right now?
Yeah, we've said that a lot on this show. Going back to watch all your tapes, I occasionally do that with this show because I would rather be told things I don't do well than things I do well, so I can always get better.
Right.
When you come through the curtain, the first person that comes to you, no matter at what promotion, would you rather have them, pat you on the back and give you all your accolades, or would you rather have them say, "Look, Darius, this is where you lacked tonight, and this is where you can get better"?
Yeah, here's one or two things, or here's this or that from the match that that caught my eye, and I wanted to bring to your attention, like that type of thing. If you're taking the time to watch someone's match, if you're taking the time to watch my match, if you're taking the time to survey bell to bell, that's time appreciated. You have to respect somebody's time. You have to be cognizant of the fact that somebody is taking time when they could be doing anything else. They could be gossiping in the locker room. They could be, getting ready, warming up. They could be talking over the match. The fact that you're watching my match, if you have something to say, I am going to hear it. And I am going to be interested in it. I'll be thinking about it on the way home. I'll be thinking about it maybe the diner afterwards, whatever it is. It's going to replay on my mind. It's the same thing when someone says something nice about you and they say, hey, look, I really like this. Now I'm going to go think about the things that you didn't compliment. I'm going to think about the things you didn't say. So you kind of play it on reverse in yourself. It's never, you can never think that everything was perfect. And I think that mentality's kept me healthy. It's kept me healthy, in the world of business. It's kept me healthy in wrestling. It's just a very positive mindset, I feel, just constantly creating a hurdle for myself to jump over. And once I plant my feet, okay, look for the next thing, and it's fun to me. It's exciting.
You've mentioned the world of business a couple times tonight. I usually don't delve into people's shoot jobs. I do know that you've hustled, especially when you started, going to classes, going from classes to training or to work, working on your craft, back to the dorm, this and that. So obviously business is your shoot job.
Right. So I went to college for business administration. Originally, I went for history. I was a big historian.
Okay.
Funny fact about me is actually like one of the first things I wanted to be, besides a wrestler, was a paleontologist.
Interesting.
So I was very much into dinosaurs and very much into I was always into history. What came before? What existed? How did we get here? Where are we? What does it all mean? And it all kind of translated or segued into business because business is all encompassing.
Yep.
Business is a pretty broad subject. When you say, well, you have a business, when you went to school for business administration, you could be in a multitude of topics, of fields that you can be working with. So mine was really a lot of business and marketing, a lot of advertisement. Some money here, some money there with the market. So it's a lot of fun. It's just, again, my mind is always in motion. My mind is always active, and it keeps me. The energy is perpetual. I never have to seek outside of myself for energy. It's always just there, and I'm always just moving. And when I talk to people about my day, like how we were talking about, before, me going to college and then going to training, coming back and studying, and then here's a test. I mean, that lifestyle was something that I was just kind of, it's just accustomed to. My mother, was working at a Fortune 500 company, before she was 19. You know what I mean? So it's that type of thing where it was just instilled in me, and I've never questioned it. It's made me who I am. And, my hustle is very silent. I don't go out there and talk about it. I don't go out there and say what I do and this and that. My business is my business, and I do what I have to do to live a life that I feel I deserve to live. And wrestling is a critical part of that. I couldn't be the person I am without professional wrestling. Just doing business wouldn't fulfill me 110%. It does fulfill me in a lot of ways, and it's great. It's great to have something other than just wrestling. And I say that because it allows you to perceptualize professional wrestling, to really see it for what it is, for the good and the bad. It allows you to be aware of your place. If you only have wrestling, if you eat, sleep, and breathe wrestling, and I mean that to the point where you have nothing else. A lot of people throw that around, but when you literally have nothing else, it's okay. It's got positives, but it has negatives because you're not able to see yourself in the grand scheme, and you can get lost in that. There's so many people I've seen get lost in that over the 12 years I've been wrestling. They just get caught in the whirlpool of wrestling. You have to have something else, and that's what that is for me. That's what history was before, and then translating to business and starting young and learning kind of tricks of the trade, learning how the value of really just saving money and reinvesting money, keeping money in a vacuum, and it just keeps growing and growing, and it's nice. It's setting a life up for myself, when I'm double the age I am now. So I've always had a future kind of plan, so it's panning. It's beautiful. It's really nice.
Man, he sounds like he's got his head on straight. I'm 40 something years old, and I am not as wise as that. That's amazing. And I would believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, the business and marketing and advertising aspect of what you were just talking about can translate well to a wrestler, because a wrestler is pretty much their own business. Put it out on social media, market their merch, get their bookings, make a name for themselves, put themselves over.
100%. And what's funny is I don't even have merchandise. So by choice, because, to respect the persona of the All Father and wrestling's RIchest Prize. What merch am I going to sell that you can buy? You know, we're gonna sell scarves. That you can buy.
A burgundy scarf. You could sell
Yeah,
that.
you can't afford it. You know what I mean? And I could sit there and flaunt it in front of you during an intermission, but I have better things to do than to bring my materials to a table and showcase it. It's not necessary to get it dirty in the musky air of civilian life. So we don't need that. So yeah, I don't have merch, so I'm literally just promoting myself and my brands. And when I say my brands, I mean the promotions that I'm wrestling for. So the things like the Pro Wrestling Magic and Warriors of Wrestling, Paris is Bumping, you know, all these promotions, Camp Leapfrog, that I'm continually getting to compete at. Every time I'm on something like this, it's my obligation to get those names underlined, bolded, and italicized, because that just makes me bigger. That just makes me better. And that's what you're supposed to do. You know, you're supposed to, you know, give back to the places that are giving to you, and everything's gotta grow. As you grow, they have to grow. You have to make them come up with you. So that's the name of the game.
It's funny that you said bolded, underlined, and italicized, because that's literally what I have for Paris is Bumping, Pro Wrestling Magic, and Camp Leapfrog. They're all bolded and underlined. And a lot of that happened for you during this pandemic. There's been silver linings in this pandemic. It's been shitty, don't get me wrong, but you had some debuts in the pandemic, correct?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. The Camp Leapfrog was one of them. That was Christmas Chaos, Christmas Trios, I should say, where I debuted against Blank. So that was one of those Christmas themed street fights. Getting excited thinking about it, and it was a good time. There was coal. There was a ladder. A lot of different unique ways to utilize that. That's on IWTV as well. So, and that's another thing. I mean, I was able to boost the eyes on myself because I did come into IWTV, leading to me having my own special, which is the Carter Clause, presented by Pro Wrestling Magic, which is literally discussing and reiterating my entire reign as Dark Arts champion, 230 days. With defenses against the likes of Eric Corvus, against Erica Lee, who's the heavyweight champion now, Billy Dixon, who I've had a feud of the year with, a contender in PWI, and a match of the year for 2020. So, you know, these are the things that, again, you have to keep moving forward and count your successes, but, you know, don't hang your hat on them. You know, you have to keep rolling. And I've been able to make a good amount of debuts. I've raised my prominence in other promotions. Warriors of Wrestling, I was the World Heavyweight Champion, carrying that company.
Carrying it.
Through the pandemic.
Yep.
Literally, every single month, they were one of the only places that was really running through the whole pandemic. And every month, I was there defending that championship, getting matches on YouTube, getting subscriptions on the YouTube channel, adding viewership, putting eyes on the brand. So that's, you know, this wasn't even a second thought. I mean, I knew what I had to do for them and for myself. So it's all paid off with this to where we are now, to where it's like people are just coming back. Some wrestlers are just coming back into the game. And it's like, well, you know, by hook or by crook, you know, you've been out, I've been in. And it's nice to see my name rising literally up the proverbial ladder.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we want to talk about the PWI 500, I think in 2020 you were 330. I think this year you're 231. And you're continuously rising. But I want to go back to something we talked about with the merch, how you don't have any, because you're a heel. If nobody's ever seen you, you're just a nasty little heel.
Little?
Well, true.
I know what you're saying.
Good point.
Yeah.
And it's an.
You want to say something else. You want to say nasty little something else. But for the sake of censorship and for the sake of acquaintances, you know, not on the first time.
No, next time we have you on, I'll curse at you. But you give me that old school heel feel, like old school wrestling. Like I'm an older gentleman. I grew up with the Roddy Pipers in the world. Bobby Heenan, my favorite heel of all time. First of all, you give me that vibe. Do you enjoy being a heel? Stupid question, right?
Thank you. There's nothing else that I want to be. I grew up on Ric Flair, who was, my favorite
dirtiest player in the game.
Wrestler. Yeah, and I love, wrestling. It's not like one particular person hooked me into wrestling. I just fell in love with the sport of wrestling. So from a young age. So the first time I saw it, it was like, all right, that was it. And Ric Flair was my guy, and I just loved everything about Flair because he had it all, and he told you about it. And when he wasn't telling you about it, he was telling you about it. I mean, in terms of his appearance, in terms of how he wrestled, the man was a champion through and through. He wasn't just coming out in a robe and then getting into the ring and just punching and kicking and, that's it. Like everything from the time he walked out to that curtain to the time he walked back, everything was Ric Flair. From the way he wrestled to the way he would respond to being hit to the jaw-jacking with the crowd, everything. So that's really what I fell in love with. So people like Ric Flair, people like Nick Bockwinkel, as I would study him and come to know about him and the class that he brought to AWA and the way he wrestled, again, sophisticated but vicious. I always loved that in every walk of life, whether it's wrestling, whether it's a TV show, a movie, a comic. I always fall in love with those types of characters that are able to maintain class and sophistication, but also have this deep-rooted brutality to them. And there's a lot of psychology to that. And that's where, so there was Flair, and then other wrestlers kind of helped create that metamorphosis, like a Nick Bockwinkel. Like a William Regal, when he was Stephen William Regal, Stephen Regal, and Lord Regal, William Regal, wrestling in Japan, those matches that he was. I mean, that's the best part about a guy, someone like Regal, is he had so many different points in his career that you could watch. You could watch the early 90s. You could watch the mid 90s in WCW. You could watch Regal down the road in 2006 if you wanted to. In 2008, I mean, there's so many different points. So I draw a lot of inspiration from those dastardly, psychological, pinpoint accuracy type personas. I've always been drawn to that.
Do we need more psychology in today's wrestling?
You need 100% more. You need 100% more. There's never enough psychology. There's never enough. You can never wrestle a match that's too good. There's just no such thing as it's too good. It's like you can be. That's what I mean when I say 100%, because the psychology comes down to your movement, to every little thing you do, to how you whip a person, to Irish whip, I should say, to how you approach a person, to how you walk. You could look back at your walk and be like, oh, you know what? I could have done something a little better with how I approached him. I could have done something a little better with how I exited the ring on that. Little things like that. It's not just about, how I did a suplex or how I did a move. It's maybe about how emotion, maybe it's a taunt, something that I could have done or something I could do next time. Oh, you know what? I could have gone on that turnbuckle because that turnbuckle on that side of the ring, there were a certain group of fans that I could have targeted, instead of going this route. I mean, there's always rewind-worthy material. So that's very important. It's very important to have a basis and to know what you're looking to do out there, to know what you're looking to accomplish. You're not just wrestling the opponent. You're working with an entire crowd. You have a referee that's there that you can utilize. You have a wrestling ring that is a weapon unto itself. Yeah. You have so many variables. And I think kind of that authenticity of putting it all together, that's the psychology. That's the psychology of wrestling. It's everything. The entrance to the match, to the post-match, it's all psychology. Every part, it never stops. So how can you be too good at that? How can you be? You can't.
Yeah. It's great. It's great stuff. I'm gonna come back to this heel psychology stuff in a little bit, but I'd be remiss if I didn't touch on the fact that you've created some factions, some very monumental, change-worthy factions in your 12-year career, I guess that's still going. One of them, the Crusade for Change stable. And then this most recent one, is it true that the Better Business Bureau sent you a cease and desist?
They absolutely did.
Oh my goodness.
They absolutely did. They sent it to me. They sent it to Last Words on Sports because they had published an article that night. Because I mean, the Cassandra Cup was trending worldwide.
Yes, it was.
You know, it was trending up to like 21 in the world. I actually believe it hit a little low. I think it hit 18 at one point. So either way, it was trending around the world. And we were able to, that article came out that night, and it was, the Better Business Bureau, and they got the cease and desist. They had to redact it and change it. I have it still sitting there. I'm gonna frame it on my wall. A literal cease and desist, and they were a little smarmy about it too. It was like, oh, imitation is a sincere form of flattery, but if you don't take this down, I mean, they were being a little funny, and they really came for me. So, we had to change it from the Better Business Bureau to the Best Business Bureau, which, I mean, it is what it is. You can fight something like that, but it's the Best Business Bureau. What are you going to do? It's the BBB. What are you going to do?
The BBB.
So it's like, all right, let's just change it from better, from better to best. And usually we just do BBB anyway. It is what it is. People know what it is. People know the group. When you see myself, when you see Shay McCoy, when you see Killian McMurphy, you see Eel O'Neill, and you see Jordan Blade in the same room. And then Felicia, you see there, maybe Dust is hanging around. I mean, BBB is the most colorful stable, the most dynamic stable. We are all bringing something different to the table. We are vicious. We are known for being brutal. We are known for hitting hard. We are known for getting the job done. So it's amazing how many stables I've led, and it's just kind of like I'm always creating or molding something. But that's the game.
I think you're a leader. I think you're a leader.
I'm the leader for all of them. I am a leader. I'm a leader. People will say a puppet master. People will say a conqueror. People will say a lot of things, and it's true.
I want to get to your in-ring work for a second. First of all, if nobody's seen you, just look them up on YouTube. Skip past all those NBA Darius Carter stuff because that guy didn't really pan out, and you, my friend, have. So you'll find them. There's great stuff. But your intergender matches is what attracted me because just saying intergender, because it's wrestling. Let's be straight. It's wrestling.
Right.
But you've gone up against the likes of like a Mercedes Martinez. I think Su Yung, maybe?
Su Yung, yep. Queen of the North.
Yeah, Queen. What about intergender? What about wrestling? Women is intriguing.
What's funny, about intergender matches or mixed matches or whatever you'd like to call them, they just kind of happen. I'm one of those people that just wants to wrestle the best wrestler
in the world.
I just want to wrestle people who are great, people with status, people with ability, and a lot of them are women. I mean, listen, Mercedes Martinez is one of the best wrestlers in the world. No matter which gender you want to dig into, no matter which pot you want to put your hand in, when we're talking about professional wrestling is all things. It is all encompassing. And Mercedes Martinez is better than as many men as she is better than women. So
I don't want to get in the ring with her.
and listen, she can take a hit tougher than a lot of men got wrestled. So what are we talking about? Mercedes Martinez, Kimberly is incredibly tough. Su Yung, Holiday, Saraya Knight, women I've competed against and had. I feel they were very strong. Not just strong matches, but I mean matches that I'll always remember because, we were going in there and we were putting the work on each other. I mean, it was competitive. It's fun. It's exhilarating. So to me, again, it doesn't matter what gender you are. I think it just so happens that, I'll get put in there against a woman just because I don't loosen up on them. I don't treat them any lesser. I think visually it's a nice aesthetic, I guess, to watch me kicking someone in the face, particularly a girl. But men are getting it the same way. I'm beating up men the same way I'm beating up women. I'm beating up all genders. I'm beating up he, him, she, her, they, them.
Yeah, take them all.
Everyone's getting it.
Everyone's
getting it. Whatever you want to, whatever you would like to be known as, you're still bowing at the feet of Mr. Darius Carter. My boots are indiscriminate.
I was just gonna say.
That's the facts.
You don't discriminate. Take them all out. I just, something popped in my head when you were saying this. I heard you on another podcast, dear friend of ours, Tristan Law. You mentioned having the same match with different people. Let me paraphrase. Having the same match with different people is kind of useless. You said you want to have different matches with different people. I think that's the gist of what I took away from that. You want to elaborate on that? I think it was great. I think that was a great point.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we all have our moves. We all have signature things that we're known for.
Yep.
When you think Mr. Darius Carter, if you're catching up with my work, you're going to think Yakuza kick. You're going to think, okay, the Royal Sweep, which is the finisher, of course. You're going to think maybe a sleeper hold. Okay, he's going to do some submissions. He's going to stomp. He's going to double stomp. He's going to do some rough stuff, okay? But your matches are based on who you're facing, and you're based on your energies off of that person. How does Darius Carter interact with a Billy Dixon? That can be very different than how I interact with an Erica Lee versus how I interact with Everett Cross at Pro Wrestling Magic. I mean, every match is different because there are different stories. The story is not the same. And I think sometimes people get caught up in playing the hits, or they get caught up in making sure they get this move in or that move in because that's what the fans want. Really, it's what you want. You want to get your thing in, and you want to get in and get out. And to me, I approach every match differently. Sure, I have certain things that I may want to do, but once you get out there and once you're in front of the crowd, that might not happen. It's all about how it feels. And I like to feel my way through matches. I like to feed off of the natural energies of the match. I think that's where I thrive. I thrive in realistic environments. I thrive in situations that you're kind of pressed to make a move. I thrive in that. I thrive in close quarters. So if we're coming in close, I know I'm going to go for something on you. I'm going to try and go behind you. I know I'm going to try and single leg you, double leg you. I mean, this is just the nature of it. And that resonates to the crowd. The crowd is like, oh, look, this is real. I mean, he really went to go take this guy down. He didn't just go to lock up with everybody. He didn't just start every match off with a collar elbow tie up, or he didn't just start every match off with a sequence. This match, Carter did this. This match, he did that. Why? Well, maybe it's because he knows how that person would respond. It's all, again, psychology. It's all worth thinking about.
Yeah, definitely. We talked about that earlier, psychology, and I think that placates into how every one of your matches is different because the atmosphere, the venue, the opponent, the fans, it's all different every single match. For sure.
There are some matches where you don't get the Yakuza kick.
Yeah.
There are some matches where you don't get the drop kick that I have, which can be considered best in the business,
Best in the business.
At least among the best. I mean, come on. But the vertical leap, the extension, the connection, just that's for
phenomenal.
Oh. But I mean, you're not getting that in every match. If I have a great move and I do it in every match, I'm kind of watering it down.
Right.
I'm taking the importance away from it. The Royal Sweep is my finisher, but I don't win every match with it. Sometimes I got to get you with the sleeper because that's all I can get. I can't get the Royal Sweep, or maybe the sleeper is the better move. Maybe I hit you with the Yakuza and you're knocked out. You don't kick out. It's not every match is going to end the same, and you can't think like that. Sometimes you're going to win with something else, and you have to be ready to win. You have to do the move with the intent of winning. So that's my mentality, and I think that's again why my matches do feel different. I think that's why it's hard to say, oh, well, we know how Darius is, but it's like people kind of know with me, but I'm also unpredictable. So I can see why it's so hard for people to read me, because on one hand, you think you know exactly what you're going to get. I have the old school appearance, the traditional trunks, the DC on the side. You're thinking, oh, we're going to get collar elbows, we're going to get headlock takeovers, we're going to get, we're going to get maybe an eye poke. But then I put my hands on you, and then it's like, oh
shit,
like, oh, this guy's twisting me. This guy's twisting me around. He's got my arm over my neck, and what's going on?
Right, exactly. Oh shit, that's the oh shit moment. Yeah,
I didn't see this coming. Yeah, and whose fault is it for not seeing it coming? If you didn't tape study, what do you want me to tell you?
Yeah, their fault, not yours.
Right.
For sure.
And now you got to watch different matches, because you can't just watch 2 matches of mine and get me. You got to watch several. And even then, there might be a move that I didn't do, so I can pull it out on. You could watch 7 matches, and I do something in the 8th. I mean, it's not all the same. It's not all relative. It's based on who I'm facing, the size of the person I'm facing, the mentality of the match. These are all things that matter.
Phenomenal stuff. Before I have one last thing that I had written down, and we've skirted around it. I'm going to bring it up, and then I'm going to give you the mic, and you can put yourself over, and we can have a lot of fun. But we talked about your heel work. We mentioned you got no merch. What would we sell? A scarf. You talked about flattery, or imitation is the best form of flattery, or something to that nature. Did Alberto Del Rio and MJF steal your gimmick?
Oh man. Listen, I can't really say much about. I can't say anything about Alberto, because
it's true.
Who knows if that was his idea, right? Mm-hmm. So, that could have been an idea that was thrust upon him.
That is a good point.
Same thing with Ted DiBiase. I mean, $1 Million Man will tell you, and I was a big fan of the $1 Million Man. In fact, the Royal Sweep, some of that's a tribute, because I used the Cobra Clutch into a front sweep, a forward sweep. I always saw the Cobra Clutch as a bit of a wealthy maneuver, and that's really because of Ted. Yeah. I remember seeing Ted beat up the carpenters, the job guys, and he would he put them all, and he would do a lot of that. And I think people forget that Ted was okay in the main event, but when he wasn't, he would come out there, beat a guy down, put some money in his mouth, and be out. And it was something about him beating people down versus other people that was different. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, you could see Earthquake do it, and I'm not taking away from those guys, but it was a different type of beat down. When Ted did it, it was arrogant, it was staunch, and then he would, and then he'd shove it down your throat. He would literally shove it down your throat that he beat you. So you got to draw inspiration from. There has to be something that you're drawing your energies from, and you have to be able to convert it. And I always thought that was important. I always thought that the attention to detail, I always thought that was critical. I feel like I might be getting a little off. I forgot what the question was.
No, you're right. I'll lead back into the question. But yeah, you do give me a Ted DiBiase vibe for real when you brought it up. Because I just picture you in like a 3-minute squash match where you're like, this person is below me. And I'm going to put him down, and people are going to know it, as opposed to a John Tenta, an Earthquake squash match. But my question was, and we talked we talked about Del Rio, so now I'll just say MJF. I mean, he's a prick, so he probably did steal your gimmick.
Oh man, listen, because who knows who's watching or saying. Let me just put it like this: people that know me, right? And people that know him know what it is. They know what the situation is, okay? I've always been kind of reinventing myself, because that's just the way that I am. When I first started, I was wrestling in a suit. I would literally come out with the suit, with the full suit on. I would take the jacket off or the blazer. I would take the shirt, and I was just wrestling in suit pants with a belt and wrestling boots and knee pads underneath. So that was my style, and then eventually I would transition to trunks, And then, but I would transition into the scarf as well. So I'd have the scarf on top, take that all off. Here's the suit, right?
Yep.
Eventually, that would segue to me wearing trunks. I had the scarf with Beyond Wrestling in 2012, 2011, going into 13, where the Crusade for Change would eventually come about. So I was doing a lot of things before a lot of people. And that's, I guess it does bring it full circle, David Letterman effect, to imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, because, man, listen, people know, man, and I don't have to sit here and say it, but people know that I've been bitten, I've been imitated. People have taken things. I'm not saying I'm the first guy to come out in a suit with a scarf, but I put it together in a way that was recognizable.
Correct.
I put it together in a way that people were like, oh, man, that's Darius Carter. Here he comes. And there would be fans with signs about the scarf and wanting to grab my scarf. I would walk by the fans, and they'd try to, if they dared, maybe like a little kid, and then, you scare them a little bit. But that was all part of the presentation, and when I met MJF, which I do believe was at BCW, and we had like a 5-way match. It was me, him, Grim Reaper. And this match was actually very, very fun. It was very, very good. In my opinion, it was good, especially for the time. Hippie Dicky Moon, Habib from the Car Wash from WrestlePro.
Yep.
So we all had that match. He wasn't wearing the scarf then. He came out with the shades. I mean, it is what it is. When people see something good and they're going to, emulate it. They're going to take their version of it. It's kind of what wrestling is. We all are kind of emulating in some way, but we have to make it our own, right? You have to take something. If I'm going to watch Ric Flair, if I'm going to watch Nick Bockwinkel, if I'm going to watch Regal, if I'm going to watch DiBiase, like you said, you can see them in me.
Right.
But you still
can
define Darius Carter as very different from each of those people. Even Flair, it's different because I have a different viciousness than Flair. You know what I mean? So these are the type of things that, not to take away from him, but I'm just saying there's different aspects of personas, and you have to make it yours. Has everybody made it theirs? I don't know. Yeah. But what can I say? I mean, so, it is what it is. I don't have a contract. I'm not on TV. There could be reasons for that. Who knows? Yeah. All I know is I have to be me, and I have to stay true to myself as I have. All the success that I've accrued, the PWIs back-to-back from 337 to 231, the BW 500 to be on the Black Excellence list by RIchest Reg, which is a tremendous honor, to come in, to be ranked anywhere near the top of the world when I didn't have anybody to take me there. I didn't have a best friend to call that could get me to the next level. I don't have. It's not that I don't have good relationships. I do, but I don't. I don't have that kind of fire escape like that. I have to climb. I have to dig, and I like it that way. I like it that way. I like the way the meat and potatoes get yours because they can't take it from you. When you build a career of excellence and a career of experience, when you build a career of winning titles everywhere you go. I'm not sitting here writing this out, telling, hey, look, I'm only going to wrestle for you if you give me a title. That's not what it is. Everywhere I'm going, promoters see me, I wrestle for your show. Next thing you know, I'm in a championship picture. I'm a champion. I have stables just about everywhere I go because I'm doing what I need to do. I'm playing my part. People see that, and they're like, well, let's augment that. Let's add to that. Let's take this thing and run with it because I'm giving you something that's palatable. I'm giving you something that is very simple to digest. You understand it. Your fans understand it. And it's easy reason for you to want to check back in. So, I said it today, man. It's like that platform is just once it's there, whichever platform it is, I just need that something, that camera light to see it. And I really do believe that the rest will be magic, and whether I get, how I get there, we'll see.
Awesome. That's great. And I can see it. I can see you're going to get that platform. I can feel it. I can literally feel it through this webcam. I can feel it. And I can't wait.
It's real.
Yeah. And I'll go out, and I'll be the one that says it. If there was no Darius Carter, there would be no MJF as we see him now. I'll be the one to say it. So, anyways, it is what it is.
I got it. You got to give back to the business, right?
Hey, right? Exactly. When we get MJF on, he's gonna say, I'm gonna say, who inspired your character? You know, he's gonna tell me, Mr. Darius Carter. And if he doesn't tell me that, I will play him back this segment. Facts. Anyways, we're nearing the end of the show. You've been a pleasure to have on, and you've been so great to talk to. Although you're a nasty heel, I enjoy heels, so maybe that's why we relate so well. I have a plethora of notes I did not get to, so our door is open for you to come back on. And I have failed, so when I give you the mic and you put yourself over, let us know also what you have coming up, where we can see you in the ring. We've been plugging your links of your Twitter, your Instagram, and stuff like that. But at the end of every show, I'm going to give the guests the mic, and I'm not going to interrupt. The floor is yours. You can say whatever you want.
Well, I mean, let's do business, okay? Mr. Darius Carter, that's twitter.com/Mr. Darius Carter, Instagram/Mr. Darius Carter, Facebook/Mr. Darius Carter. Fan page is /Wrestling's Richest Prize. So you can take a look at that. I have the rest of my year is looking wonderful. There are some debuts that are coming up that I can't say just yet, but we have the 5th of November, which is going to be Catalyst Wrestling, The Real Deal. So you can see me there in New Jersey for the Brass Ring Invitational. So I'll be bringing that back. And then November 13th and 14th will be Pro Wrestling Magic. On the 13th, I'm wrestling Masha Slamovich.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
And then the 14th is going to be a match to be named. Also, actually, the 13th is a double shot because I'll have Pro Wrestling Magic and then Warriors of Wrestling. So I'm going to wrestle Masha Slamovich on the 13th, and then I'm wrestling Vita Von Star at Warriors of Wrestling, and she's of Ring of Honor acclaim. So that's going to be 2 back-to-back. There you have it. 2 back-to-back intergender or mixed matches. Again, it is what it is, and I look forward to both of those because I know both women are very tough. So I'm very excited for that. And then the 20th of November, Invictus. I'll be debuting for Invictus Pro. So we'll see what match. They just have put out the flyer, and that's been enough for now. So a lot of things coming there. December as well with We Are Wrestling, December 10th. So you just pay attention to the Twitter page, the Instagram. I'm always posting. I'm always putting up my dates. That is my merchandise. My wrestling dates. That's my merch.
Yeah.
So that's all going to be going on. Listen, this business is a beautiful, disgusting, ravenous, rewarding business. There's a lot of there's some things that you get out of this business you can't get anywhere else. That outweighs all the cons. You can just do what you want to me. You can try and cut me down. You can try and cut me out. But I always find my way in. I'm always the one. I'm he who remains. I always make it to the end. So, I have to keep on hustling. I will make it to that land, wherever that land is. But I'm not in a rush to do that. I'm keeping my grass well watered. I'm glad and I'm proud of my progress. I'm glad to be on IWTV, really, and I'm more of an IWTV regular.
Yeah.
I'm glad to have my own special. How many people could say they have their own individual professional wrestling special on IWTV, literally just match after match after match of you? So, I'm just, even just taking it in as I say it.
Yeah.
It's you have to keep on moving, and you have to want more for yourself. Never settle. Always realize that there's a better version of yourself, and you're the one that can create it. So this is what this is all about. It's all about being the best Darius Carter, and all about getting in front of the eyes that I need to be in front of to then propel myself to where I need to be. And that's where you'll see the real chatter start. That's where you'll see all the urchins that were hiding come out and try and congratulate you and say, "Oh, that's going to be fun." But in all seriousness, stay committed to your craft. Love what you do. Have something outside of wrestling so that you can have a good vision of what this business is. And listen, if you need something, and chances are you do, if you need the All-Father, if you need wrestling's richest prize, the technical tormentor, a champion all over, Paris's bumping champion, the inaugural Paris's bumping champion, was the Dark Arts champion for 230 days, BCW World Heavyweight Champion for 1,076 days. Everywhere I go, I get it done. So what are you waiting for?
Darius, thank you for giving us your time. You've been phenomenal. You're welcome back anytime.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Very, very grateful.
Have a great night.
You as well. And the go away line, right? Again, I don't have merch, so I got to plug something,
ahead.
Right? The time for change is now.
Oh, phenomenal. That's great.